You're listening to A State of the Union, estate planning made simple. Here's your host, Brad Wiewel, from the Wiewel Law Firm in Austin, Texas.
This is Brad Wiewel with the Estate of the Union, and this is Sam Wiewel, the resident millennial.
Yeah.
And we are going to be talking today about a non-legal topic, and we've had an earlier one of these.
Yes.
And we are going to try to educate the non-millennial world on millennial perspectives. And today we are going to do kind of a movie review, right?
Yeah.
And what was the name of that movie?
So I dragged you to see a movie called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, it was Everything, Everywhere, and for sure, all at once.
Yeah. It was an interesting, quaint little movie about a woman trying to get her taxes done.
And we do tax work here, estate tax work and gift tax work. We don't do income tax work, but they had an income tax problem and kind of set the scene of the family.
So the movie's about a Chinese immigrant named Evelyn and her husband, daughter, and father.
Right, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And Evelyn is struggling. She's not doing the best. Things are kind of falling apart, and she gets sucked into a multiverse situation where she's battling through space and time against unstoppable evil that is controlling and experiencing everything.
And I think we need to, I want to give a little preview. We don't want to, and I think we have to be careful about this, give the whole plot away because there are our listeners.
Well, this is not the whole plot, but this
there
is
was something about a big bagel too. So that's the part that, and Wade's starting to laugh on that. That's the part where I started to
tune out, or
I wouldn't say tune out would be
struggle.
Struggle. That's a good
Yeah.
word. Struggle.
I told Wade earlier that you may have been confused.
There might have been some confusion when they brought in the bagel. So let's go back. Okay, let's set the scene from my memory.
Okay,
that?
I'd love
I'll
to hear
give you
your
my
perspective.
My 69-year-old perspective on this.
Brush
So,
off the cobwebs.
right. So we go to the movie, and Sam says, "Now, I'm not going to tell you anything about this movie. I want you to kind of get the full experience," which I typically like. If I know much about the movie,
In retrospect, it was not a good idea.
Well, in retrospect, we may not have gone to that movie. But there's this family. They run a laundromat. I presume in L.A. Everything happens in L.A. in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they are struggling financially. It seems like it's okay, but it's a laundromat. It supports Evelyn, her husband,
Wayman.
That's right. Now Raymond Wayman. Grandpa, one of their parents, probably Evelyn's dad.
Her dad, yeah.
And their daughter, who is having a relationship with another girl, and she's trying to break this information to her parents that she is having a relationship with a girl, and this is a very traditional Chinese family, and she knows it's going to be controversial. And then somehow, okay, so this is where
it takes a sharp left turn.
Well, they end up in the IRS office, and who's the IRS agent?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, Jamie Lee
does a wonderful job. Wow, she's so great.
There's a couple of things about Jamie Lee that have changed. One is her appearance. Now, you think she was wearing a fat suit.
Oh, she definitely dressed up a little frumpy for the role.
Oh, frumpy for sure. I wouldn't pick Jamie Lee Curtis out of a herd of.
But she was doing kung fu. They had her on wires, flying around and fighting people.
I did see that.
Smashing through walls and punching through cars and stuff like that.
No, it was a very vigorous role for sure.
The movie definitely gets very weird, very, very, very strange. Especially once they're in the IRS building, something happens and
Evelyn starts to drift into this other universe.
Different universes where she can experience what could have been in her life. Like if she had stayed in China instead of going to America with her husband, what her life would have been like there. Or crazy ones, if what her life would be like in a world where people had hot dogs for fingers.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's just stop there. I'm watching this movie. Now, let me tell you my setup here. So I worked all day long. and had just driven in from a meeting in our Georgetown office. So I get there, I'm tired. I had told Sam to order some queso and a beer, and I drank the beer and ordered queso and ate queso. Then we had another beer and then some pizza.
Yeah.
2 beers, no more than 2. And I was a little weary, might be a good word.
Yeah. You had a long day.
Had a long day. And then this stuff starts to go off like, this other universe stuff. Right, wait till it happen again, because I'm going, what in the heck is going on here? And along the way, of course, Wayman's trying to serve her with divorce papers.
Yeah, but he's also, he is, but he's also urging kindness the whole time and
Yes.
just being kind to one another, which is the ultimate message of the movie, I think.
And your mother would say the same thing. Be kind, be kind. So
Let's get back to the bagel.
let's
All right, keep going.
Just take a quick second on this.
Sure.
Millennial movies, not all of them, of course, but at some point when the DC Comics and the Marvel characters started to arrive.
Yeah.
The last one I remember seeing that I liked was frankly the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of an old-fashioned kind of guy in that, respect.
You like the other Batman movies.
I have seen Batman movies. I like the Michael Keaton one especially.
Yeah,
and,
he's coming back. They're bringing him back.
Is he? It's so
Yeah.
interesting. But tell me about the attraction of fantasy movies and millennials.
Well, I think this movie in particular, and most movies, especially for people my generation
Sure.
that influenced it, sorry, I touched the mic, is The Matrix.
Oh, sure. And I did like The Matrix, though.
Yeah, no, The Matrix is a fantastic movie that I compared to as we were walking out of the theater. You didn't really feel the same comparison,
Right.
but there were a lot of thematic similarities and a lot of the
Alternate
same
universes
beats.
and things like that, or alternate.
Well, somebody coming to someone in an office situation and saying, nothing is what you think it is, and everything is different, and lots of kung fu stuff like that.
Right. So again, the attraction of these movies to millennials. What's the?
Well, I think we like the philosophy behind a lot of these movies.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
The Matrix had a lot to do with escaping reality, or the desire to, have something else beyond, the boomer sort of American dream of
Sure.
White House, picket fence,
Yeah.
2.5 children,
Right.
and my generation and Wade's Gen X before us started pushing back against that and wanting something else. And I think this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, takes that another step forward because of it really explores the generation differences between the mom, Evelyn, and the daughter, Joy. And Joy, who, for a lot of reasons, essentially becomes a nihilist in the movie.
So that's true too. So this lovely young daughter, Joy, with the girlfriend, Becky. I remember that because I read the Wikipedia trying to figure out what the plot was for
That's
this interview
sweet.
here,
Great.
ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, then she turns into this other kind of more sinister character, a nihilist or whatever, nihilist, and all that. And let me take a quick step and back to our audience to tell you that the theater was full.
We had to sit in the front row because second front row because it was so packed.
It was, and on Rotten Tomatoes, that some of y'all may not know what Rotten Tomatoes is, this kind of consumer-driven movie review website. It's like 97% of the people love this movie. Now that makes me.
Well, the critics love it. The users are a little more divided.
Oh, the critics love it. Okay, well, thank God.
Yes,
All
a
right,
lot of
thank
people.
God.
It's a
I'm
love
not
or
alone.
hate movie.
Yeah,
I think if we get you, in a better situation where you haven't worked
More
all day.
rested.
Yeah, really, you've seen it once, so it's not going to be. You're not going into it cold either.
No, and I think seeing movies a second time is. I remember I saw Midnight Cowboy the first time.
Which imagine what your parents would have thought of you dragged them to that.
I don't think my parents knew
blind.
I went to it either. And then I went, and I didn't like it. And then I went back and I saw it a second time, and it was the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's still really high on my liking movie list. So maybe so.
Yeah, no, it would have not have been great to drag your parents there after a long day of work with no
Ratso
information,
Rizzo and-
not seeing a trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it would have been a hard luck deal there.
But
So back to your
so that's essentially what the bagel is. It's a bagel, which if you see the movie, there's a bagel
a
that
giant bagel, not
represents the title "Everything, Everywhere, All at Once,"
right?
where the daughter, the bad person, the bad guy in the movie.
The bad daughter, because there's two. You have Joy, and then you have her.
Don't want to
alter
give it away
ego.
too much.
Alter ego.
Yeah.
Right.
The bad guy in the movie essentially puts everything in the universe, everywhere, into a bagel, and it's called an everything bagel, and it's a literal everything bagel because it has everything from the universe inside of it. So it's essentially a black hole, and it represents nihilism. And it's the daughter, sort of following the temptation that my generation sort of feels to lean towards nihilism, that nothing kind of matters, because we grew up with kind of everything, all of our needs met.
Sure.
Lives are pretty easy. Our biggest worries are like Instagram and online sort of nonsense.
Sure.
So it becomes like when you have everything, what matters? And so that's the question that the daughter's struggling with, and that the mother's sort of struggling with too. And it's, I thought it was a really interesting two-generation views on such a weird and broad topic.
Well, I will say that too, and I think that the one of the I'll use a term carefully. I wouldn't say criticism, but
Sure.
observation was
Constructive observation.
is that it was hard to follow, and this gets back to one of the things about action movies, and not the shoot 'em up kind, but the more superhero kind too.
Yeah.
Is that the action is overwhelming, and so it's hard to keep the plot straight because of all the action. And the plot is almost, in some respects, in a lot of these movies, so from a boomer perspective, and of course I'm right because I am a baby boomer, I've always been right, of course, that the plot sometimes is almost secondary, and the action is what people go to see, right? The kung fu and all that too, right?
Yeah. Not in this movie, of course, but lots of movies, yes.
Well, there's a lot of...
this movie is front-loaded with style.
Okay.
Definitely, it's a very stylish movie. You can tell they were probably doing a couple of drugs when they wrote the thing.
Probably.
Some psychedelics or something. Back in the 60s when that stuff was made.
I guess so, right. It's written by these two guys, the Daniels.
Their first names are both Daniel, so they go by the Daniels.
And this is not their first movie, but there's the nihilism or nihilism thing is fascinating, because this is another insight into millennials. And I thought you said it really well, that always had everything, and what's next? How do I find meaning in what I've got left?
Yeah. The sort of struggle for purpose or meaning in a world where a lot of basic needs and necessities are met. And the ultimate message, like I said earlier, is to be kind and to love the people around you while you're with them. There is no bad person in the movie. There's not like an evil character. The evil character is succumbing to, that nihilistic outlook and deciding that nothing matters.
Right. And then she comes back.
Yeah, and ultimately, good triumphs over evil, and
And Jamie Lee Curtis, they sing Kumbaya. I missed that part, but
yeah, everybody. Oh, there's a great scene towards the end where she stops using kung fu to fight everybody, and she starts using her superpowers essentially to solve people's problems. Where she'll go into their past and find out what's bothering them. In one case, there's a chef with a raccoon
the
under his
Ratatouille scene, right?
There's a chef with a raccoon under his hat, controlling his motions, and she gets the raccoon taken away by animal control, and it's
His life is better.
she makes the life better again, and it's all over the place, but
It's everything. What's the name of the movie again?
everything, everywhere, all at once. You definitely have to be in a certain mood to watch it, or
A
don't.
certain mindset.
Yeah, and I would say don't go in blind, as we've learned now.
Yeah, do a little study, and I did again since the movie to figure out exactly what I was watching. After I watched it, I did go to Wikipedia and read which still was a little bit on the vague side, but
Yeah,
Go ahead.
a lot of it's pretty vague, which I think, I don't know if my generation likes things vague. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but some people want things sort of, I don't want to say spoon-fed, but this movie is not
it's
that
not a
at all.
spoon-fed. No, it's more of a like we're going to kind of throw this out on the table, or maybe more like an artist palette. We have all these colors, and you're not sure. You can just pick one.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So back to vagueness, and yeah, as boomers, I think boomers, we were raised by the World War II generation, and we were, we rebelled in the 60s and 70s, but then realized that to get ahead, you got to put your nose down and just go for it. And then we raised up millennials, and we are, we like A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 1 equals 2. And, but I'm thinking that millennials perhaps as a group, that's not always true.
I think it's easier for us to suspend our disbelief in when it comes to weirdness and out of this world sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that boomers are incapable of that. It just comes to us a little easier.
First, I didn't look behind me to see who else was in the audience, but I would bet that I was the oldest person in the room.
Not a lot of blue hairs.
I
No.
would bet I was the oldest person in the room by at least 15 years, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. And I'll bet if I went to the new Thor movie that's coming out, or one of the other things, if I was there in the audience, and we've been to some of those movies, and we go to the Bullock sometimes and see that, I think I'm the oldest person in there too.
Yeah. Those can be, the Marvel movies are pretty general, but we go see something like Tenet, or
Tenet is
that movie confused me too.
wow.
That was a hard to understand movie.
Denzel Washington's son is in it, and it was interesting, but so hard.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked too much about it, but I'm a fan of David Lynch movies.
Okay.
David Lynch, who's a boomer,
Yes.
but he doesn't make point A, B, C, D movies.
Right.
He goes from A to E to 37 to negative 45 to Z to back to A again.
Right.
So, I mean, it just depends. And, I mean, Andy, I don't know.
Andy's your brother.
Andy, my brother, I think he would like this movie, but I think he would have to approach it in the right mindset. Definitely not a movie for him to watch after a long day of work either.
Because you're our more artistic kid.
Well, yeah, I like the more out there sort of stuff.
You do. You like, and a lot of
Unconventional.
a lot of people watching do too. And one of the reasons why we're having this conversation again, ladies and gentlemen, is that I had children later, and I'm 69 years old, but my kids are 31, 29, and 26. And so if I had children and my children were now 40, 45, 50, and they have children, we wouldn't be seeing this movie anyway, probably.
Maybe.
But because of your age and your station in life, you thought it'd be great to see, and the way we went, and I don't regret seeing it.
Of all the movies that are out right now, I thought this would be the best fit, but we'll revisit it at a later date. Maybe at the lake one day on a lazy Sunday or something.
Yeah. We can let's rewind that.
And we'll
again.
have the Wikipedia page open for us to go through as we watch the movie, and just
check the box.
and we can pause and I can clarify,
Sure,
and you can give me some history facts about something.
Yeah, which I love to do. Right?
Yeah.
Of course. What else do you have here? Because you took a lot of notes here.
This is mostly just stuff that happened in the movie because I needed to kind of work it out. Just about the bagel and what it represents.
Thank you. I did struggle with the bagel.
And that at the end of all the infinite possibilities that our main character has, Evelyn, she has access to any version of herself that she would ever want to be. She chooses to be, in her version, just doing laundry and taxes with her husband and her family.
Wife and mother.
Yeah.
And daughter.
And
grandpa was there too.
Because that's what matters to her, and those are the people that she loves. And she would rather do laundry and taxes with them than be a movie star or an astronaut, something like that.
Sure. So that reminds me of The Wizard of Oz. When Dorothy came back and she's in her bed, and Annie and Uncle whoever are there, Uncle Henry, Hank, I don't know, and the other characters come and they said, tell us about where she tried to tell him and she couldn't tell him because it was too fantastic. And finally she says in the last words of the movie, there's no place like home.
Yeah.
So I guess Evelyn maybe had that epiphany too. I remember the beginning. Mm-hmm. There was a whole lot of steps. How long was this movie?
2 hours, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was a good solid 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking.
I loved it. I recommend it.
And again, critics love it. The movie theater was packed.
Maybe watch it at home where you can pause and, look it up.
But
what's
I don't
happening.
know. Maybe the whole streaming thing from beginning to end gives you the full Monty. So
Definitely don't be on your phone while you're watching it.
Can't do that. And and again, it was people. And this is a Wednesday night with a full theater. So this is a movie where a lot of people like it, and certainly you may too. And the focus of this podcast, of course, is just not on this movie, but also the juxtaposition, how about that word?
Sure.
Of boomers and millennials. And we got about 2 or 3 more minutes. Any concluding thoughts or comments?
No, I'm probably going to go get a bagel after this and break out the old trophy cabinet, polish, break some of those out. And then, have a good, maybe watch the movie again. I'll go see it again.
There
Who
you go.
knows?
Well, why not? Right.
Yeah.
So good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I like doing this because for whatever reason, to not just boomers, but to some extent Gen Xers, millennials are a little bit of a mystery. And so anything we can do to help you crack the egg or have a little bit better grasp of the thought process of this massive number of people that are now coming through our society. Again, Sam is 31, and younger down to Zach, who's 26. Kind of he's at the tail end. Mm-hmm. But these are a lot of people, and they're going to be running the country. And it's nice to know your perspective.
Already starting. Wade, you'd like the movie. I recommend it to you. If you're a Jamie Lee Curtis fan, check it out.
Check it out. She doesn't. You wouldn't know Jamie if you saw her.
I had to point her out.
You did have to point her out, but she was there and did a good job. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching And thanks, Sam, for coming down here and sharing your fantastic insights.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.